Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. We are going to be going over the Tone Commander series with Patton, and they will be giving you some finer detail into what's up and coming on their roadmap and what they're releasing here in the near future. And during the webinar, if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. You're going to notice a little comic book-looking blurb right at the bottom that has the letter Q in it. That's going to give you the option to put a question in there. We will address all questions at the end of the webinar. And if you don't know much about VoIP supply, partnering with us gives you the advantage of wholesale pricing and financing. We have marketing tools that you can use and education, such as webinars like we're doing now and other videos and such that we can help you get involved with. Dedicated sales and support. People like myself are here as your dedicated sales rep to walk you through any solutions, make any recommendations, and get you in touch with our counterparts at our great manufacturer partners like Patton. And we have a full cycle logistics system where we can do provisioning, fulfillment, and generally shipping same day, and can ship overnight and get stuff to you on Saturdays even. So without further ado, I will hand it off to our colleagues over at Patton. Bert, if you will, please.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So I'm going to, hopefully make this short and sweet. The idea is just to convey some information about the secure SIP phones that we got through acquisition of a company called Tone Commander. So I'll do a little overview of Patton, do a little history on Tone Commander, talk about the phones themselves, discuss a bit about our strategy, show you the roadmap on the hardware and software. Most people think of Patton as a VoIP product company, which we are. We're a lot more than that. We actually have 3 different major lines of business that we're dealing in. Standard products are what we're mostly known for. That includes the smart node portfolio of voice over IP gateways and session border controllers. Now we've added to that the Tone Commander secure SIP endpoints. We also have a Fiberplex brand of products, which is all about secure fiber communications technologies. We have CopperLink brand products, which is all about Ethernet extension, putting Ethernet over legacy wiring and in varied topologies. And then we have our legacy portfolio we call Connect IT, which is really all about serial communications, RS-232, 422, 485. In addition to the standard products, we do offer specials. We actually have a team that we call our special projects group. Over the years, customers have come to us, and because we have a particular product or technology that they want to modify in some way for maybe a special use case. And so the special projects group takes on those opportunities. There's lots and lots of examples of them. So what this is, this really about solution development, realization. Very often these special projects incorporate an element of Patton's intellectual property, and we put that together with our in-house capabilities and competencies in order to realize these special use products, and then also networks and systems integration is also part of that. And then we also have a division doing contract design and manufacturing services. So this is where, because we are a vertically integrated company with all the disciplines that's required to be a high-tech manufacturer, we offer those services to companies that want to use us for our in-house software design or embedded software design capability, or mechanical design or electronic design. All of our supply chain capabilities in terms of acquiring electronic components, our fabrication capabilities. We have in-house precision metalworks in the company. We have fully automated surface mount manufacturing. We do through-hole manufacturing. We do box builds. We do final assembly and test. So we do look. One part of our business looks kind of like a smallish boutique contract engineering and manufacturing services business. In terms of the standard products, we're a telecoms, networking, and IoT product company and solution provider. We are privately held. We're proud that for the last 40 years we've done the design, development, and engineering of our own products in-house using our U.S. manufacturing capability. As a result, I will talk about this a little bit more. We do have, with that comes some benefits to our customers. So what makes us kind of different from other, telecoms OEMs or networking OEMs? Again, we have 40 years under our belt of organic growth, growing a little bit at a time. We are multinational. We're vertically integrated. Like I said, all the disciplines that are required to do what we do, we have in-house. The technology is homegrown, and from a cultural perspective, we're flexible. We're passionate about what we're doing, and we have a creative culture. So there you can kind of get a picture. That big picture in the upper right-hand corner is a part of our factory here in Gaithersburg, Maryland, just outside of DC, where we manufacture the products. Basically, with that backdrop, we're able to deliver unique values to our customers that other people aren't able to do because we are vertically integrated, because the technology is homegrown. We control every aspect of the quality of the product and the reliability of the product. Again, because all of those technology building blocks are ours, we're able to make product modifications and do customizations or special product use cases. We offer world-class support because the people sitting in the technical assistance centers have direct access to the software engineer that designed the code, or the hardware engineer that did the schematic design for the product. So that gives us a real benefit of just that direct connection. We are solution focused. We do make products, but we recognize that we're part of a solution. We're not the whole in a solution in and of ourselves. And so we maintain a large ecosystem of partners that we've do a lot of validated interoperability with, whether it's Zoom or Teams or 3CX or legacy systems, telecom service providers of every stripe, and other industry peers that we make sure that our products work together with those, so that our integrators and customers and MSPs can deploy multi-vendor solutions. We're also project oriented. Again, we make products, but we think in terms of systems and networks and service competencies. And because we are a multinational company, we have global coverage with local resources, right? So if we're dealing with an opportunity for maybe the government or a multinational organization where they want to integrate communications between entities and locations that are spread around the world, we've got technical resources that can reach those local facilities in order to provide specialized support and logistics and things like that. So where do we fit in the industry? Typically, our products are sitting on the customer premise, or they're on the edge. And what we mean by the edge is they're sitting between the enterprise network and the carrier network, or the over-the-top service provider. We also have telecom service providers themselves are a big customer base of ours, and in that case, we're sitting on the edge of the carrier network, facing the subscribers. Most of our standard product technologies are focused on real-time communications. When we say real-time communications, we're not just talking about telecom, we're talking about all forms of communications. So that's pro audio video. One of the products that we have in the Fiberplex portfolio is a Dante AV over IP. So that's the ability to take audio and video across an Ethernet network and do matrix switching and all kinds of things like that. We work in media broadcast. We do actually a whole lot in industrial communications, what today is known as IoT or machine to machine. And then, of course, we're dealing in security and surveillance, as the whole security and surveillance market is also moving to IP, and there's a real-time communications component to surveillance. We do believe, is kind of our dogma, that the network is going to be all IP, and again, all of it: voice, data, video, audio, sensor networks, everything that you can imagine where there are signals. We also see that communications infrastructure, right? So the physical cable plant is very often a barrier to accomplishing the adoption of all IP. And so between the Fiberplex product line and the CopperLink product line, we're overcoming those barriers, allowing people to get very high speeds, very long distances over legacy wiring, people able to adapt and convert legacy interfaces over fiber or wireless. And then, unified communications is an element of network transformation, but we do see that as being, a migration. And so each aspect of this convergence is happening separately. So there's like a convergence of convergences, if you will, as everything is becoming unified under an all IP world. And because of all of these things taken together, the need for being able to do management and monitoring and orchestration becomes essential to manage all these pieces of service that are being delivered across the IP network. And so we have a product called the Patton Cloud that is our edge orchestration solution, which I'll talk about a bit more because it does have to do with Tone Commander. So one of the ways that you can think about Patton's standard product portfolio is like this. We offer secure telephony solutions. So here we're talking about the Tone Commander SIP endpoints and the Smart Node products. The Smart Node products they started off as, kind of ATAs, VoIP gateway type products, but as the market matured, we've added and layered into those gateways and done all IP session border controllers that are managing a big part of what their job is in this migration. It's managing the security aspects of the network, doing things like TLS and SRTP for encryption of both the signaling and the data payloads. Of course, also doing the internetworking, the quality of service. So all of that we consider under our secure telephony portfolio. And then cybersecurity is, the Fiberplex products really have a lot to do with securely, using fiber as a way to convert, isolate, and transport data in a secure and a cyber secure way. We're doing things like bit cleaning so that signals that ordinarily would be coupled onto copper wires get cleaned when you transport it over fiber. So all of those kind of what we call compromising emanations become suppressed using fiber. So you'll see in the Fiberplex products that some of them are Tempest standard, right? Which basically means these are meeting certain RF requirements, RF susceptibility and RF emissions standards that the US government needs. And so as a result, some of these are ITAR controlled products, right? So they're used for weapon systems and things like that. So ITAR is the international trafficking of arms. And so these are considered part of the, kind of the secrets of the U.S. military that we don't want getting into foreign hands. We're also doing specialized products like waveguide filters that basically prevent RF emissions coming out of secure information facilities or SCIFs. And then we're into the Fiberplex also is doing things like SFP data diodes. A data diode is basically a unidirectional communication path that kind of tricks out IP to looking like it's two-way traffic, but it's not. And so basically that lets you do what's called cross-domain solutions. So if you're in a secure network, you can get information from unsecure network or networks or public networks, including the internet, without anybody ever having access to your to the secure side of the network. And then of connectivity, we already talked about this, is extending Ethernet over copper using any technology, delivering really long distances and different rates in any environment. So that's in the office environment or in an industrial environment or even outdoors out in the elements. We also have some other legacy products that I already mentioned, things that are more of your legacy sub-rate T1E1 type technologies, multiplexers, doing dial-up remote access, digital cross-connect switches and the like. So that's all on the connectivity side of the business. There's a bunch of buzzwords here on the Tone Commander side about the phones. So we'll talk a little bit about ASSIP, MLPP. We'll talk about JITC when we talk about the phones. So a little bit about Tone Commander's history. Tone Commander is a company that's been around for a long time. They were actually founded, Patton was founded in 1984. These guys started in 1972. They became, in the early days, famous in the public sector market for Centrex attendant consoles. Later on in the 90s, they did ISDN phones and ISDN consoles. If you remember, the federal government, in particular the military, adopted ISDN. It was kind of a the sub-rate ISDN was adopted by the telephone companies, but most businesses and residential users really didn't use it. And so at least for telecom, it was primarily dominated by analog. But they made these phones. They later on, as ISDN started to wane and IP came along, they basically leveraged that experience and became the only U.S. manufacturer of JITC and TSG certified phones. And again, I'll talk about what those things are in a minute, but they, huge installed base. So they have, more than 25,000 phones installed with the Marine Corps, 35,000 at the Pentagon, 30,000 with the Air Force deployed. So there's a whole lot of installed base and a whole lot of pedigree of these consoles and secure SIP endpoints in the federal government. So their traditional model is, selling to the federal branches of government, heavily focused on the defense agencies as well as the intelligence community. They're mostly serving that market through prime contractors who are working on very big deals, and they're kind of like outsourced programs of the federal government. And then, of course, the subcontractors to those prime contractors, and there's a whole host of people that that do that kind of work in support of the primes. All right, so let's talk about now what these Tone Commander phones. What do you get? We have a product we call the 7810, which is JITC certified. So JITC is the Joint Interoperability Test Command. And they have all kinds of different security tests that they do. In the case of this phone, it's doing an extension of standard commercial SIP that's called Assured Services SIP. And basically what Assured Services SIP is, it leverages something called multi-level preemption and prevention. And the way that you can think about that is it's rank-based quality of service. The example would be you have operating bases, military operating bases all over the world with a command structure in those operating bases, and different kinds of telephone traffic going across typically satellites. So, you've got maybe a field commander that is in a very high level meeting with somebody at the Pentagon, and then you have the um, you have the kind of the rank and file soldier in his dorm or in his barracks making phone calls to his family. And so in a situation where you have limited bandwidth, uh, if an important call needs to go through for somebody that has at a high rank, and there's a limited amount of calls that can be sustained on that link, then all of the other calls will drop. And so it's kind of like mission-based call prioritization. Now, the other thing that these phones do that are special is they support TSG. That's a technical support group, which is a subset of the Committee on National Security. I think I'm saying that right. And this is for phones that are going into SCIFs. So, and this goes back to the Cold War, where the Russians were spying on us, and you can have a phone sitting in a conference room where the voices in that room, even if the phone is on hook, the phone's not being used at all, the vibrations from the voices in the room can couple onto the enclosure of the phone, which then couples onto the wire that's connecting to the telephone line going out of the SCIF. And if you've got the right kind of sophisticated surveillance equipment on the outside, you can tap that wire and actually listen in on the conversation going on in that room. And so TSG is a countermeasure against that type of surveillance. And basically what it does is it's a positive disconnect. So when the phone is on hook, the physical wire between the phone and the physical wire is disconnected from the phone. So there's an air gap that gets created, so nothing can couple onto that wire. And then while the phone is being used, there's microphonic filtering, so that any of the vibrations that are coupling onto that wire get filtered out to also defeat that attempted surveillance. There are other companies that have these kinds of phones. Poly has a phone like this, and Cisco has a phone like this. Avaya has a phone like this. What they're doing for the TSG part of it is that they're taking their typically Chinese-made phone, SIP phone, and doing aftermarket adaptations to it in order to bring it up to the TSG 6 security level. And then, of course, when they have these things certified with JITC, then they're certified typically as a closed system. So the Cisco phone is designed to work with, is tested in the Cisco UC system. The Avaya phone is tested with the Avaya UC system, whereas the Tone Commander phones are agnostic. So these are ASIP secure end instruments with the JITC that you can connect to any IP-PBX, and so it's agnostic in that sense. And that's the other thing, is that it is originally built U.S. made from scratch. There's no aftermarket retrofitting to meet the TAA or to meet the TSG requirements. So it's fully designed, engineered, manufactured in the U.S. That's kind of our rubric. So we have a strategy, right, that we actually see a market for a U.S. made, for a high-end U.S. made SIP phones that can leverage some of, but not all of, the security features that we are used to delivering to the DoD and the intelligence community. Some of those features can be utilized and are helpful to state, local government, other small, medium, or large enterprises that are either contracting with or subcontracting to the federal government and need to meet certain security standards. But aside from that, just a regular plain Jane commercial SIP phone that's, made in the USA, that doesn't have any source-based security considerations, and doesn't have any risks, or I shouldn't say not any, but has way fewer risks in terms of supply chain disruptions. And so our strategy is that we're going to, well, I mean, I should just say, we're going to make a commercial phone. I'll show you that roadmap. There are some challenges with that. One of the things about a phone that goes into a SCIF is that you don't want any sort of remote access to it whatsoever. That's a no-no. It's supposed to be locked down in a closed network, whereas when people are doing deployments of SIP phones, normal SIP phones like a Yealink SIP phone, they want to be able to do things like automatic provisioning. They want to have perpetual remote access and control so they can support SME type customers. And so we're going to break off the code branches between our commercial variant of the secure SIP phones and the JITC certified variant. And so we'll still keep some of the security features, but we'll allow the remote access for cloud management, automatic provisioning, configuration. We'll let the MSP do the management and the monitoring and the securing and alerting, troubleshooting, all of that stuff that is really helpful to them in terms of providing good services to their customers and subscribers. So here's what it looks like. We have today the 7810, which I showed you. We have the 4101, which is kind of the low end. The 7810, the first thing we're doing, this is more of a government focused thing. We're adding a push to talk capability to that so that you can, I think everybody knows what push to talk is. If you don't have the button on the handset pushed, the line is there's no audio going out over the line. So we'll be adding that capability to the 7810, and then we're doing a hardware refresh, bringing out gigabit Ethernet, because the 7810 is only doing 10100. So we'll have a gigabit Ethernet PC port, and we'll have a gigabit Ethernet network port, and we'll include a gigabit Ethernet SFP slot, so that you can bring fiber directly to the desktop. That's important in the government. It's getting more important in the commercial SIP phone market. And so the 7910, it'll look just like the 7810 in terms of its enclosure. And then on the lower end portfolio, we're taking the 4101, which today is TAA compliant. That just means that it's made outside of the US, but it's made in a friendly country. In this case, it's made in Taiwan. We'll be bringing that 4101 home and making it in our factory in the USA, basically just moving where it's manufactured. The design is and always has been under the total control for hardware and software of Tone Commander. But we just want to have an all made in the USA portfolio. And then we're going to be, the kind of the enclosure and the LCD associated with this technology is kind of dated. So we're going to refresh that. Basically, we're not going to reinvent the wheel in terms of the phone enclosure. In other words, the handset, the keys, the LCDs. We're working with a friendly industry peer. You might recognize some of these pictures. Can't talk about who it is now, but we'll be using their enclosures, LCD and keypads and things like that. But inside, it will be the secure board of the 7910 adapted to the enclosure of what we're calling the 8110, which is kind of our mid-range portfolio, and then the 8510, which has got the big LCD screen and able to be more video ready and things like that. And then we'll do a similar thing with the low end of the product, moving those boards into some alternative enclosures as well. And again, each of these routes are going to have commercial SKUs variants and government SKU variants, or JITC SKU variants. So one of the things that is on the software roadmap is we're bringing this under Patton Cloud orchestration. We're doing some needed software updates to bring us up to the latest and greatest for E911 address confirmation. Um, we're doing some things that we have to do on our OpenSSL stack for JITC, and we're going to be enhancing the codecs to include the wideband AMR codecs, the Opus, some other GSM thing for more radio network integration, and so that's kind of what the software roadmap looks like. So in terms of the addressable markets for all of these, products, again, it's secure facilities. These are secure facilities in both federal and civilian government um, markets. It's SCIFs. It's the SCIFs of government contractors, their subcontractors. It's SCIF facilities that are both, inside and outside the military bases. And there's also um, quite a few really non-defense, non-intelligence SCIF-like facilities that are being built by the federal, state, and local government agencies because of concerns around security. So, uh, you know, there's opportunities there. Um, so we also see lots and lots of special use products in terms of SIP or IP endpoints emerging within the government. So having this intellectual property gives us the opportunity to address some of those special use cases, and we're engaged with some pretty high profile, large value projects within that area. Um, and so, and some of the things that, where you get funding is, basically taking these, doing ruggedized designs, environmental hardening. So you can think of SIP phones that are going places where, they need to be blast proof, bulletproof, things like that. Um, and then, there's all kinds of different funding. Again, lots and lots of federal funding, and then state, local government funding, and contract vehicles that you can get on in order to secure your fair share of at least the federal market. So now I want to talk about that. We've had the Patton Cloud edge orchestration solution in our portfolio for a long time, and it's been, really just leveraging the gateway and SBC products that we have on site in order to make VoIP deployments easy, to improve the service quality, make the installation time easier, make sure that our that the integrator or the managed service provider, has a high level of customer satisfaction, better customer retention, and that means giving them more control. The internet telephony service provider really needs to have control over the service, and there are a lot of things that they can't control about what's going on inside of the customer's local area network that the Patton Cloud um, helps to manage, and then better tools for providing technical support. So the Patton Cloud Edge Orchestration Service is a typical software as a service model. On the left here, you'll see all of the different kinds of microservices that are offered in that SaaS model. We have a basic version of this, which is free of charge. We've got a standard, which is really, really inexpensive. We've got an advanced that's, you know, has some cost associated with it, and then we've got the professional, where it's a meaningful annual fee. And then you get different kinds of services, or are available under these platforms, right? So the idea is you can graduate people from one to the other. When you go to Patton.io, once you get a subscription to this as a service edge orchestration, you can log in. You get a dashboard overview that shows you all of the devices that you have connected to your subscription of the Patton Cloud. It shows those devices geolocated on a map. You can all of the device details are there for you to view. um, including the software that's running on those devices, the configurations. We keep all the logs. We're monitoring the device health. You can then remotely access uh, that device's command line interface or terminal window or the web GUI. Um, and of course, you can also, kind of another basic thing is being able to set up users and the access rights within your organization. Then auto provisioning, we can do auto provisioning a number of different ways. Once the smart node SBC or the gateway or now the Tone Commander phone, once that's plugged in, um, it can, it'll make contact with the Patton cloud. Um, if if uh, if this is in a situation where maybe the the ITSP or the MSP has set up provisioning servers of their own, so they can provision all of the devices from one place, we can redirect that device to go get its configuration from that third-party server, or we can natively provision the devices from the Patton cloud. Um, so new device gets connected, contacts the Patton cloud. There are configuration files there that are prepared. Those configuration files get pushed to the device. Now the device is provisioned. You can also execute predefined wizards. So if maybe you're getting 80% or 90% of the configuration pre-made and available in the cloud for that device, but there's something specific about that needs to be configured that's related to that particular site or that particular network, then we can deliver the user basically an interface that says answer these questions, and then they answer the questions. The provisioning is complete. Um, so you can manage device licenses. So in the case of gateways and session border controllers, there's licenses to different kinds of things like the number of sessions or the number of voice channels or whether you're doing VPN. And so we have a licensed server that's part of this. It allows you to do things like, I mean, you can either have a permanent license that's attached to a device, or you can have a pool of licenses in the cloud that you lease to a device so that if a device gets decommissioned, you can reuse that license on another device. It's a file system, and so everything that's happening on the device. So, for example, its configurations are stored in the cloud. We do keep call detail records, so there's a call history. So not only do you know all the devices connected to the cloud, but you can see the call history. Um, then we put all of these files together, so the file system can be synchronized. So um, so you can see in real time the configurations, the logs, the certificates that can be related to call detail records, for example. What this lets you do is you could track the file history. Right, so you can see somebody made a change to this configuration, somebody moved from this version of software to that version of software. So now you can just, with a click of a button, you can restore to an old version of software. You can restore to an old configuration. So file backup and restore. And then this lets you perform then software updates, uh, and they can be scheduled. So you can there's all kinds of different business logic that you can apply to this. You could say do it on a particular day, a particular time of day. You can do it. You can say wait until there's no calls for some period of time. You can do combinations of those parameters. You can say do the devices, all the devices at this location, and then all the devices at the second location, and then all the devices at a third location. Or you could say do every device in the whole network all at once. And so you just have incredible flexibility in terms of rolling out software changes. There is a powerful alerting, alarming system. So anything that's happening on a device, through a device, um, or to a device for that matter, are resources. You can define what of those resources you want to collect information on. You can have the cloud collect that data, and then you can apply whatever Boolean business logic you want to what's going on in order to distribute alerts. So it can be, things like somebody dialed 911. It could be things like um, somebody got uh, too many trunk line busies. You could do it based on call quality measures. So, for example, you can say if somebody's got two calls in a row that have one-way audio, create an alert. So it just lets you really be on top of anything that might be deteriorating in the network that's impacting the service. And we're doing it by leveraging connectivity to the devices. We let users create assigned configuration wizards. So those wizards that I talked about earlier are completely, um, you could create any kind of wizard you want for whatever configuration purpose you want. For troubleshooting, we do offer um, packet capture. So you can tell the device, start capturing packets. You can say, tell it to capture the headers or capture the whole packet or capture it just from this device, from this phone, from this port, from all the ports. And then it starts streaming back those captures to the cloud so that the data is available to you locally. So then you can run your Wireshark traces or whatever you want to be able to troubleshoot what maybe some more intricate problems that might be going on in the network. Every single phone call is scored for quality. Um, so we're doing the latency. We're measuring latency and packet loss and round trip delays. We're creating loss scores out of that, and every single call is scored poor, fair, or good. Um, we do have a standard set of parameters we do for doing that scoring, but we also allow users configuration to customize that. So if you need to manage to a particular service level agreement, you're able to do so by changing those parameters. Um, so again, the call quality monitors, call detail records, file synchronization, all of that stuff, you can create alerts and alarms around any of these things that are data resources. And so now we also we have advanced CDR or call detail records and call quality metrics. So we're capturing it in real time, but we're also have that historic call detail together with the call quality metrics, which includes analysis of the packet flows on the detailed call quality graphs. All that data is retained. And so now you can do really cool things like charts and graphs and reports. And if a customer calls and says, I've got really, really bad service from you, Mr. Provider, you can say, well, what's going on? And they say this, that, and the other thing. You can delve into the past. You can generate reports out of the system. You can tell them exactly what was going on in the network and whether they're getting it right or not. It is a multi-tenant platform, so a master organization can have sub-organizations. Each sub-organization can define its own users, roles, and permissions. Um, and so, and then typically, the sub-organizations are segregated so that the master organization can see what a sub-organization is doing, but two sub-organizations can't see what each other are doing. We do have the ability to basically allow one sub-organization to provide remote support to another sub-organization with defined access rights, right? So that that's going to be like circumstance-based or request-based, where ordinarily they're disconnected, but if somebody, if there's a cooperation going on and somebody needs support from somebody else, one sub-organization can have temporary access to another sub-organization's data. And then, of course, all of this stuff that's going on inside this edge orchestration platform is available as an API, right? So that means that any of these microservices or aspects of the service can be exported to other platforms using the API. Or it can go the other way. If there's something that you want to get from another system to incorporate into kind of a customized view of your Patton Cloud subscription, you can bring in third-party APIs. We do have a bunch of video resources available. We don't yet have videos on the Tone Commander phone integration and the Patton Cloud orchestration that is related to it. Um, but we do have these short tutorials that can be very helpful if you want to dive into any of these microservices that I mentioned are available on the cloud. You can get educated really quickly by watching these videos and playing them directly out of YouTube. It's a centralized platform for managing all Patton products and connected network services. It is really easy to use. It makes auto provisioning a breeze. It's really inexpensive. I mean, we made this to try to originally sell gateways and SBCs, and now we think it's going to be an enhancer for our sales of secure SIP endpoints. It is secure in its own right, um, and it does help, drive profitability for our partners, and it's highly interoperable. Including this two-way API integration that is really powerful when you want to start to integrate aspects of it into CRM systems or OSS BSS systems. Okay, so that's all on the Tone Commander SIP endpoints, now coming under Patton Cloud Management and Control.
Perfect. I do appreciate it. A lot of great information there, Bert. We did have a couple questions for you. If you don't mind, we'll pull those up here.
I do not mind at all.
So one of the questions we had here, is the Tone Commander line certified on any platforms?
The answer is yes. It is, and how the certification is achieved may be a little bit different from what you're used to. So, for example, Ribbon is one of our big partners in the DoD space. So we're certified on the Ribbon platform, both with Ribbon directly and together with Ribbon in the JITC. We are certified in the CITIC for in the DoD labs for interoperability with Cisco, interoperability with Avaya. In terms of the commercial branch, doing we haven't yet undertaken doing things like interoperability with 3CX. There has been interoperability on the phones with both Unify and Mitel. Those two companies are coming together now. I'm not sure how things are going to shake down, but there's probably going to need to be an interoperability refresh on the phones for Mitel and Unify to address the commercial market.
One other question we had here, can you clarify what the difference is between Class A and Class B?
I can. I'm just not sure if I can do it off the top of my head. So a Class A certification, the phones are not, there's no other piece of equipment that's needed for the on-hook security. It can be used standalone, right? So Class A is the phone sitting all by itself in the SCIF and the wires going out of the SCIF. Class B is where there is a device in between the phone and the network. So you can, for example, inside the SCIF have an Ethernet switch co-located. So if you have an Ethernet switch co-located within the SCIF, then the phone has to do less work because the Ethernet switch is taking care of. The Ethernet switch is the wire that's going out, and so, and I think in the case of the Ethernet switch, you're using microphonic filtering, and in the case of Class A, where it's going directly out, you're using microphonic filtering and positive disconnect.
And just one last question, is there any certification with Zoom currently?
Yes, Zoom for government. So the Tone Commander phones have Zoom for government certification. The Patton Smart Nodes have standard Zoom commercial certification, and I believe we're getting the Zoom for Government certification on the Smart Nodes, and we're probably we'll have a Zoom commercial certification coming on the Tone Commander phones when the commercial SKUs start getting released.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Bert. I do appreciate all the information. And anybody who's attended, we will be sharing out the recording of this webinar, as well as it will most likely be available on our YouTube channel, which I highly suggest you go and check out and subscribe to. Get a lot of cool videos that we put up there weekly, introductions to different products like the new Patton Tone Commander stuff and a multitude of other things. But I did want to thank Bert for all his time and expertise today. And if you do need anything, feel free to reach out to us anytime.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. I hope it was helpful.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.